Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone, to the second edition of the Washington Football Team Fan Podcast Meetup. I am your host, Kyle. I'm joined by Wole of the Urban Sports Scene.
What's going on, folks? How y'all doing? It's a pleasure to be back on.
Absolutely. Also joined by Douglas McCrae of the Big Douglas Show. How you doing, sir?
Good. What's up? Thanks for having me this time.
Absolutely, and we're joined again by familiar face Parker Hamlet of the Washington Brawl. How you doing, sir?
What's up, man? Ready to talk some Washington football with familiar faces.
Absolutely. We're going to go into depth about the matchup versus the Giants later on in this episode for you guys. But the whole reason we're doing this is so as a fan base, as a podcast fan base, we can talk about the quarter mark of the season, where the team is now, where they're headed, and where they have transitioned from beginning of the season. So, Wole, let's go to you first. What is your biggest surprise? What is the biggest surprise to you so far in the season, good and bad, from the Washington football team?
I guess I'll go bad first. It's more like I thought the defense would be more dominant, to be honest with you. I do like what I see from the front, I guess the front four. And I like how interchangeable they have been. Obviously, I think that, of late, that the defense has struggled because Matt Ioannidis has gone down. That's a guy that I think people is very underrated. We all heard about the Bama Wall, and it was a great, talented dude. But I think Matt Ioannidis, when you look at productivity, this dude has always been the more consistent dude inside. So him going down does hurt. But I'm just a little surprised about like some of the linebacker play. Obviously, that's been an issue for like years. They can't guard tight ends. But just how easy that's been exploited over the last semi games. But I do think it can turn around because of this, like we'll talk about later, like the schedule, and they won't see some of the offensive power teams that they've seen in the prior weeks. But I am surprised that in terms of something being positive, I know the line has been trash, but I thought it'd be worse. And it's not as bad as I thought it could have been, right? Jerron Christian hasn't been great, but he hasn't been horrible. I think we all look at what Trent was and we judge him off of that. That's why at times people are very hard on Christian. Yep. But he hasn't been horrible. Wes Martin, surprisingly, hasn't been. I thought he would be good. He's been horrible. Now he's gonna pay for that. But the line hasn't been the worst. I thought other than those two things, and I guess if I look at coaching, Scott Turner, I thought Scott Turner did a little bit better. I thought running game, you're gonna cut. You cut Adrian Peterson. You expect, some of the people up coming up would be a little bit better. Obviously, the rookie Gibson has been good in terms of being a playmaker, but he hasn't seemed to be a feature back to me at the moment. But those are my surprises so far going in, to this point of the season.
Yeah, and Ron Rivera alluded to that in his press conference later on the week on Thursday about the linebacker unit, and he wanted to see more productivity out of that. So it coincides with your point there, Wole. But what about you, Douglas? If you could say there was a surprise for you, a good and bad, for the Washington football team 5 weeks into the season.
Yeah, I actually have been fairly surprised with the line. I think they're in top 10 in time given to the quarterback. Morgan Moses has not been this good in quite a while. They've been waiting for Jerron Christian to put on weight and mass. He's done that. I'm with you. He was not as bad as I think people thought. Wes Martin had only given up 2 sacks in his last 3 years at college. I thought he'd be stiffer. He was not. You mentioned they're putting Sadiq Charles. Coach said it during this week. They hope he will be stronger at the point.
Yep.
Hoping to get that running game going a little bit more. I've been disappointed, I think, the most by coaching. The coaching has not been what they told us it would be, right? The offense was going to be more explosive. Ron was going to bring stability. It's been an odd offseason, I get that, but the coaching to me was not nearly what I expected. And I expected 25 to get in the game more. I don't know what he did, but he's had to piss somebody off to not get in the game at all.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at early on through the quarter point.
And that's a rational way of thinking there, Douglas. I'm right there with you. And Wole, both your guys' credit about Jerron Christian, I've said this for a while. This fan base has been spoiled with the left tackle position, going with Chris Samuels, then immediately going to Trent Williams. We were spoiled with it. We all talked about, we can just replace him, no problem. It's harder than that, guys. It really is.
Well,
Now,
Christian admitted to not putting the work in too.
yep, you did.
That when he was stuck behind 71 and 76,
Yep.
he didn't do the requisite work to get on the field. And I appreciate that somebody can be that honest and say, hey, that was on me and I'm working hard to fix it.
Absolutely. Instead of all of this leaks and stuff like that, to be forefront with it, come right up. That shows the man aspect of it. And he's taking it full on. My biggest concern, my biggest surprise so far is the running game. I thought they were going to be able to move in the trenches more. They just have not been able to do anything offensively. That's the biggest surprise to me, to be perfectly honest with you. And then on the flip side of things, I don't want to say it's the biggest surprise to me, but Kendall Fuller just stepping in and just being able to be the playmaker that he was before. That was one of the biggest question marks. Are we getting the Kendall Fuller that was at the safety position, that was giving up big plays for Kansas City, or are we getting the playmaker from Washington from a couple years ago? And it looks like that we got the playmaker from a couple years ago. What about you, Parker? What are your biggest surprises?
Well, my biggest surprise of the year, on the positive side of things, would be Antonio Gibson. Coming out of Memphis, a lot of people, including myself, are very skeptical of what he could do at the next level. He says he's a Swiss Army knife, says he's a weapon. And of course, you roll your eyes. People are going to say things like that. But like you guys were talking about the offensive coordinator being kind of lacking, when he is using Antonio Gibson, right, we see all those things that we heard about through the pre-draft process. We see all those things that people were excited about when we took him in the third round. So when Antonio Gibson's on the field, man, he's dangerous. It can sort of make you rationalize why they would let a guy like Adrian Peterson go. So Antonio Gibson's made it a little bit easier. Got a little bit over 200 rushing yards on the season, a couple rushing touchdowns. Pretty good ball security. In my opinion, he's not getting enough carries. He has gotten more targets in the recent weeks, but the more he gets involved in the offense, the more I can understand why this coaching staff has invested in him long term. So he's been a pleasant surprise for me. On the negative side of things, the biggest surprise for me in 2020 season for the Washington football team is definitely how fast this locker room's been lost and definitely how fast the narrative's changing. So to me, it's definitely coaching. I mean, look, week one here, we beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Everybody's on cloud nine, now.
Seems like a decade ago.
Like a decade ago, man. And I think a lot of that is just Ron and this coaching staff contradicting a lot of things that they said. I think in the long term, they're going to stick to their word and they're going to do what's best for the organization. But you compare week one to week 5 now, and it feels like night and day. It really is crazy how much things have changed in that span of time. So I hope that he gets a better grasp on things. I hope that winning streak starts today, and I hope that the race to the NFC East, we can at least get a little bit more involved in it so Ron can kind of earn some of that credibility back.
And speaking of things changing at a very quick pace, the Washington football team announced, Larry Hogan announced that they'd be open to allowing fans back in the stadium. So I'm going to throw you guys with a random question here. I just thought of it. If the Washington football team picked you to be able to go to the games on Sunday, one of the 7,000 fans, would you be willing to go, Parker?
Absolutely. I go to at least 1 or 2 games every year. I mean, I go to the grocery store. You can get COVID there. I mean, this is almost a politically charged question. I do like.
I know, right?
that's what we're trying to do here, dude.
Absolutely. I don't mind. They make you those fancy little face masks you can put on. I'd go, man. I don't care. Keep your 6 feet. Go to your concession. Get your beer. Back up, man. Let me enjoy my game. Let me scream about this team. Let me do my thing. So absolutely. Watch football team game.
What about you, Douglas? Would you be willing to go?
Yes. Yeah, I would go. Mask up and do the right thing.
Yeah, look, I work construction, and I found this out recently that it's the second most transmissible for COVID during this entire pandemic. I've been working throughout the pandemic, so would I be willing to go to the stadium to go watch them play? Absolutely, but I would have to go get a COVID test first. I will tell you that right now, just because I want to make sure, for everyone else's sake, I'm not that one guy. But I would absolutely love the opportunity to be one of the lucky 7,000 to go see this team live. What about you, Wole?
So that's difficult for me. I probably wouldn't, because I had an opportunity to cover a couple of Skins games for the media. I had a couple of opportunities and I decided not to. But just because I just was kind of worried about the process and worried about what that, also on the back end, on another note, like it wouldn't be the same. It's like trying to interview players. You can't really do it if you got doing the Zoom call. So that was a little different. For me, I mean, it's hard because now it's like I'm thinking about now when we're at this point in time. I'm like, yeah, I could probably do it. But I would be a little bit lukewarm on the situation. You know what I mean? And plus, I feel like I'm bad luck when I'm at games anyway. When I used to go to watch the football team games. I used to get annoyed by fans too because everybody's acts like the worst. When the one play happens, the worst player in the world, and that player is the worst player ever. And I'll look to my right and look to my left like, you guys are just y'all too extra. Can you just stop it? You're way too extra. You know, so I've had a couple bad experiences in games where I was like, you know what, I'm better watching it on TV where I can just isolate my emotions with myself, me and myself.
That's not a COVID problem.
That's not a COVID problem. I'm serious. It's a me problem. I like to say I have a personal problem. I have a personal problem. You know what I mean? So it's a me problem. It's more. I'm with you, Doug. It's not really a COVID problem. It's a me problem.
Now,
at games, I'm like, yeah, I can't stand you.
Yeah, I will say, I would love the opportunity because I've been to a bunch of games. You know, over the years, I've been able to see this team a lot. You know, and I've seen a lot of losses. But the one reason I would be really excited to go see this because that would mean that there was only Washington fans in the building. You know, there wouldn't be Giants fans trying to go in. This would be strictly Washington fans, and that's what I would be really excited for because we haven't had that opportunity in probably 2 decades for that.
Look how we could be some of the worst fans in the world, though. We could be some of the worst. I mean, I'm serious. Look how we turn on everybody. You know, like we turn on everybody in a second. We can love them, then we can turn on them.
Yep.
I mean, turn on them in terms of being productive. They can be productive in 5.5 games in the season. Then that one thing when they suck, from that point on, we hate them.
Absolutely.
28 game where Alex Smith got hurt, and like 3 plays before he actually broke his leg.
Mm-hmm.
Fans around me because if you guys remember correctly, that game wasn't going too hot. We go into but Alex had just thrown a pick 6. I had everybody around me saying, "Put in Colt McCoy."
Exactly.
You guys talking about? Man, you're already throwing this guy to the Wolves, and you want Jay Gruden Jr. to come in. They're fickle, man. They're so fickle. And you know, I do like what Wale said about covering the team. I had JP Finley and I had Pete Haley and Mitch Tischler on the show throughout the summer, and they said that really took a hit on their process on, you know, how the media interacts with the players. And, the same. So I can't fault you for that at all, Wale.
Yeah. And while we get into this next stretch, Parker, try to change your settings again. It's muffling you whenever it hears another sound. Just it should be in your microphone settings. It should be really simple and easy. But looking at this team. This is week 6. This team is 1-4. The NFC East right now, Dallas is on top at 2-3. Philly is right behind them at 1-3-1 with their lone tie against the Bengals. Washington is right behind them at 1-4, and then at the end is the lonely New York Giants at 0-5. So, Wole, what is the biggest area of improvement for this Washington football team going down the rest of the season?
Got to establish the run, man. Time possession, establish the run. I mentioned the defense of the struggles. I mean, I think you can make the defense can get better if you win the time possession. How do you do that? Winning football in the past has shown you that you run the football, play solid defense, and win that time possession. You'll be competitive, regardless of what era of football you're in. You will be, a competitive ball club. So I want to see Scott Turner bring balance. We talked about his father back in the day with the Cowboys, with the Chargers, with all these teams that they had balance. So I want to see him have balance on the offense. He does that. That gives the defense time to rest. They can now pin their ears back if they get a lead. Then we can see this team, be productive on the stretch run to try to get to the postseason.
Yeah, and to your point, everyone remembers that 2016 Cowboys team that led the league in rushing. Their defense wasn't that good, but they were one of the best defenses in the league because of how much time they were on the field. It was very, very minuscule. So, Douglas, what about you? What's the biggest area of improvement for this Washington football team that you feel needs to be done going down the rest of the season?
Explosive plays. The team is bottom of the league in offensive explosive plays, and at the top of the list in the league for defensive explosive plays. That's it. I mean, quarterback play was not good enough. The line, like I said earlier, the line gave him, I think, the 8th most time to throw, and he was the quickest releaser of the football. And so somebody that can get us in and out of the right plays, get the ball down the field. When's the last time you've seen the ball pumped down the field?
Very rarely this season. Very rarely.
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. You're absolutely right. I'm right there with you because especially defensively, early in these games, they're giving up a lot of plays through the air. These big plays that are putting the offense in a very bad situation. So Parker, let's bounce this off of you. Do you agree with Douglas and Wole about the biggest area improvement for the Washington football team?
I definitely think that the big plays are an issue. You looked at that 4 game stretch last year with KOC and freaking Bill Callahan coaching the team. And, you look at that and they were taking shots down the field. They saw some of those things out of Haskins that Douglas is clamoring for. One big thing out of me, man, is just linebacker play. PP, he's been kind of a diamond in the rough, made a lot of plays. Also has missed a lot of plays. This coach staff's got to get a better job of getting these guys involved at the second level because good teams, good coaches are going to eat that absolutely alive. I mean, you go back to the Rams game, man. I mean, tight ends are just having their way with us, man. Going into this game, we were talking a lot about Evan Ingram's got that 4.3 speed. If he gets that second, third level, man, and one of these linebackers is covering him, it's just mismatch, man. And I do think that Jack Del Rio has shown some good things throwing Montez Sweat in coverage, throwing Chase Young in coverage sometimes. I mean, those are really athletic guys, but having John Bostic cover, like a slot receiver or the scat back or, these guys that are just complete athletic mismatches, it's just a problem, man. So I think schematically you just got to put these linebackers in more favorable matchups, maybe outside of Thomas Davis, who had a nice little deflection last week. So I just expect a lot better linebacker play.
And that's a great one. Mine is the third down conversions on each side of the football. And I think it goes a lot into what Wole is discussing here about making sure the run game is a foundation, making sure that it's good, because once you have a good running game, then those third down conversions start to diminish. They start getting 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, instead of being stuck in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7 in very passing down situations where the defense knows what you're going to do. I think that the third down conversions offensively and defensively is an area that they have to improve if they want to head down this season. And so let's branch off to my next comment and our next question. Let's stick with you, Douglas. Do you think with your area improvement, if the Washington football team does do that, do you think that they are capable of winning the division?
Well, I don't know if they're capable of winning the division. I'm not necessarily sure that any of the other teams in the division are capable of winning the division. So, I don't know. We got a 3-game stretch here, right? Giants twice and the Cowboys.
Yes, sir.
We'll find out real fast if they're capable of anything after today.
Yes, sir.
Because if they don't win today, it's on to 2021, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. So the next 6 games, it branches over 7 weeks. We're going against the Giants today, the Cowboys next week, and then the bye week following. Then, like Douglas said, the Giants after that, the Lions, Bengals, then Cowboys. It's a very winnable stretch here. These aren't bad teams, but these are winnable games, more winnable than the first 5, you could say. So, Parker, do you believe that this team could go on a pretty good stretch here and win the division?
It's possible. I don't think it's very likely. I think that best case scenario, we sweep the Giants, maybe lose to Dallas. You go down this Washington football team roster, I think we beat a lot of teams in a lot of different position groups. I think this defensive line should be the difference today. Should be enough of a difference to win the game, quite frankly. I think this Giants offensive line is already on their heels, and I feel like even down Matthew Ioannidis, like Wale was talking about, I feel like this defensive line should be able to take advantage of it. Are we going to Jerry World? Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. I don't see us really come out on that Dallas matchup. So I think if you win 2 of the next 3 games, you're in that conversation. But it like Doug said, it's definitely safe to say if you don't beat the New York Football Giants today, you might as well go ahead and start talking about Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, and all those guys, man, because that's a conversation that just needs to happen, and it will happen.
Yeah, look, I do believe this team is capable of winning the division. I think it's reminiscent of the Washington Nationals from 2 years ago, where they were beat up early on, they were losing games, they started getting guys back, and then you started seeing them actually play as a team. I think Sadiq Charles is going to be a huge positive for this team. I've talked about it since his pre-draft breakdown. Before we even drafted him, I said he fits at left guard. He's plug and play there. Left tackle, you'll see growing pains, but at left guard, he will dominate immediately. I think that we are going to see a different team. I think that we're going to see this team come out, have a dominating win, and the confidence is slowly going to start to grow with this team. That Ron Rivera mentality is going to start creeping in with that consistent quarterback play, and when they're not down by 3 scores 10 minutes into the football game. That is going to change. It's going to be a lot better team heading down the stretch. I definitely think they're capable of winning. What about you, Wale?
I mean, you sound so good, Kyle. You sound so good.
I know.
But, I don't know. Like, Are they capable? Yes, because it's the NFC East is trash.
Yeah.
So they're capable. But there's just a lot has to go right. I think defensively it has to start there. Just like Parker said, the linebacker play has to be better because all in all, this defense has to dominate for this team to win. Because I'm gonna be straight up. I'm not a believer in Scott Turner at all as an offensive coordinator. So it's just, to me, it's like the defense has to stand out. We all expected Jack Del Rio to put out this top 10 defense, and right now it hasn't been playing at that level. But
correct.
Again, like the NFC East has been bad. They got Daniel Jones. That's a situation where they can really pin their ears and go after the quarterback. The Cowboys lost Dak for the year, so Andy Dalton, you got an opportunity to go after him. So it's up to the defense. We have all the press clippings about everybody thinking this defense is going to be a top tier defense. It's time now. Like if Ron Rivera is talking about playoffs and winning the division, and like he didn't know the NFC East was trash before the season started, that's a whole different argument. If he didn't know that, like now. So now I want to see that defense ball out because if you've been a fan of this division and you've been a fan of this team, over the last, this is not the 1990s NFC East.
Yep.
This NFC East has always been garbage. There's a reason why the Eagles walk through this division almost every year. So now is the time. This is an opportunity. The league is open. The season is open for you. The Eagles aren't the same Eagles. The Giants are rebuilding, and the Cowboys just lost their leader. This is time. If you're going to talk about winning division, you win division now.
Yep, that's my whole point right there, Wole. I'm so happy that you feel the same way. Let's go win this thing right now. I'm tired of the tank talk. Now, Parker, Ron Rivera talked about this week that Kyle Allen is the starter for this week. They won't say that he's the starter for the rest of the season. Do you think that Kyle Allen is the answer at quarterback for this football team?
When I think of Kyle Allen, I think of one word, and that is placeholder.
I don't mean for years and seasons to come, just for this season.
Just for this season, I think he is completely capable of going around with this team. If he doesn't turn the ball over, uses his legs, does what his coaching staff wants him to do. For me, it's just a lot of doubts with the offensive coordinator. Like Wale was just talking about, Scott Turner's green. He's more green than Haskins is at quarterback.
Yeah, sometimes.
8 games? And what body of work have we seen out of that? I think that this defense can go on a tear. I think this defense can put the Washington football team in a position to win NFC East. But this offense just has to show me more for me to be confident in that. But with Kyle Allen at the helm, I think he definitely gives us the best chance to win as of right now. Haskins obviously isn't comfortable enough with his coaching staff in order to remain the starter. Alex Smith's got to find his way back in the rotation. To me right now, Kyle Allen is the best case scenario. I don't really think any quarterback on this team is going to burn the world down for us, but I definitely think Kyle Allen as a playmaker, like I said, with his legs, being familiar with Scott Turner, being familiar with Ron Rivera, we got a little bit of an appetizer, if you will, against the Rams. And, they had a scoring drive, scoring is definitely something we haven't seen a lot from this team in recent weeks. So I'm excited to see what Kyle Allen can do today. And as far as long-term is concerned, if he can if he can keep our head above water, I can definitely see him remain the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. So yes, Kyle.
Sorry, I was laughing because, after Wole and his rant about the defense, my father-in-law just texted me out of nowhere, out of random, and said, all I want for Christmas is opposing teams not to rack up 30-plus points against our supposed vaunted defense. Absolutely, sir. I think Wole agrees with you. What about you, Douglas? Do you agree with Parker? Do you think that Kyle Allen is the answer for this season?
Well, quickly about the defense, it's the problem when you lean on the defensive line.
Correct.
McVay showed us that they go to quick game and just totally make that defensive line non-existent. So,
exactly.
But as far as quarterback goes, listen, I was one of these guys that wanted Seven to have the full year. I wanted to see what he had. That's not the case. And so we'll move on. And so really, Kyle Allen's what you got left. Now, I did not realize that coming out of high school, he was the number 1 quarterback prospect. But also, he went undrafted. I think he's good enough to get us through the rest of the year and give us a chance to win. That's really all you can hope for at this point.
Yeah, Douglas, I agree with you. I think Kyle Allen does give this team the best chance to win. And the best way to be able to explain that is the 4th down conversion for Dwayne. It was long down and distance, right? It was 4th down. He checks it down, whatever. Kyle Allen kind of shows you what a quarterback does in that situation. Escapes the pocket, creates some space, and creates a play out of something, out of nothing. Just find a way to get it done. And I think Kyle Allen gives that over Alex Smith because we saw when Alex Smith tried to escape the pocket last week, he's a little rusty. It's going to take him a little bit of time. I think Kyle Allen is the best chance for them to move the ball downfield to be able to win this season. What about you, Wole?
See, I'm different from everybody. I actually think that they're the number 11. Once the bye week hits, I think he'll be ready. I think he had to get situated. I do think this team is
Rusty.
gearing. He was rusty. I think this team really wants him to be the starter.
Yeah.
And you just go off track. I'm a big fan of track record. He wasn't the same Alex Smith of mobility, but he was mobile enough. Like I was surprised about how mobile he was and how willing he was. That's the thing. It's about being willing. And I feel like after the bye week, if they're still like lukewarm, or even I can see Alex Smith being the starting quarterback because again, as a quarterback, being a leader it's about being a leader and knowing how to win football games and being a guy who can win games and play situational football. And Alex Smith, the way this team is constructed, right, is good for how this team if this team wants to win games. So if they run the football, try to run the football, play solid defense, don't turn the football over, right? We talk about this all the time. Not turn the football over. That's Alex Smith's strength. If you look at Kyle Allen in Carolina, he turned the football over. And we've seen this defense. If you turn the football over, offenses will score.
Yes.
At this point, they will score. They're not, other than the Rams game, the argument was, you can't keep putting the defense in this situation.
Correct.
The Rams were just scoring. Other than the Rams game, every other game, either a special teams fumble, Dwayne throwing a pick,
short
or
yardage,
another fumble, short fields, they were scoring. They were scoring. So if Kyle Allen is going to be effective for this team, he can't turn the football. So he can't go on the track record we've seen him in Carolina. But we do know Alex. Regardless of how you feel about Alex will not turn the football over.
Can I jump in here real quick?
Absolutely.
The idea that Alex Smith is the best option on any roster shows you exactly how the team has prepared the quarterback situation.
I agree. I'm not arguing that. Oh, I agree, Doug. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I'm a guy like that stated this, like, and I want because all I want is consistency, right? That's all I want. Consistency in how you judge everybody in every field. If you're going to tell, and this is why I go back to the whole Ron said, Coach Rivera said, okay, it's time. Like the division is open. Bro, you didn't know the division was open when you took the job. It's the NFC East. You're not coaching in the NFC West. You're coaching in the NFC East. Like the division is always open because every year there's a team slacks. These teams don't win the division going 11-5. They win the division going 9-7. 8-8.
I will say, in Coach's defense, that just seemed like something that he had to say to kind of push what he was trying to do across. I will defend Coach there a little bit because I think that was one of those like gimme statements that he just has to do it to rationalize the decision. You know what I mean? All right. Now, this next stretch, these 6 games. Right now, the Washington football team is sitting at 1-4. Before we start previewing this game today, let's talk about this stretch of games coming up. We talked about it before. Giants, Cowboys, bye week. Giants, Lions, Bengals, and Cowboys. It's 6 games, sitting at 1-4. So, Parker, how do you think that this 6-game stretch is going to go for the Washington football team? What do you predict that record's going to be? 3-3, 2-4, 4-2? What would you pick?
We got the Giants this upcoming week. I'm going to chalk this weekend up as a win. Then we have Dallas. I just don't see us coming out of that with a W. I think they just have too much on offense. So we got one right there. Then you go into the bye. Then you got the Giants again. I think we're going to sweep the New York Giants, man. I think they're a poverty franchise right now. Daniel Jones is playing honestly worse than Haskins was. And that's really a storyline that not a lot of people talk about. So I think the Giants are going to finish at the bottom of the division. I think they're going to have their shot at Trevor Lawrence. So that automatically takes them out of the equation. So after them, I'm not too familiar with the schedule once we're after the bye. And you said
I got you. It's the Giants, Lions, Bengals, and then Cowboys.
Oh man, that's a lot more favorable than I thought it was.
Yes, it is.
I'm definitely gonna say we go 4-2. I think there are 2 really good teams in that stretch. I think we beat the Lions. I think we beat the Giants twice. Definitely think we beat the Bengals. Joe Burrow's running for his life over there. I know you guys watched that matchup on Sunday.
Oh God.
Talented quarterback in the world, man. But if you don't have protection, you can't do much with it. But yeah, I see us chalking about 4-2. I don't get me wrong, Kyle. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I think the run starts now. I think that push for the NFC East starts now. I go back to 2014 when Rivera was the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. They started off the season 3-7-1, and he started saying the same things around those guys, and because that division, as Morgan Moses said, this with us right now was wide the hell open.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you go on a run, it's now, and I think we have all the tools to do that. So I see 4-2.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Parker. I have them going 4-2 with losses to the Lions and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I just feel like playing the Cowboys next week with Andy Dalton, they're going to still try to figure out what that offense is like. They're going to have those sputterings. But once they hit them in Thanksgiving, that offense is going to be moving a little bit more. I could see them going 4-2 and being 5-6 at that point in time. What about you, Douglas?
Yeah, I think we have to remember that we faced the tough part of the schedule early.
Yes, sir.
And it looked it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to see the Ravens anytime soon. We don't have the Rams coming up. And we got outmatched by better teams.
Yes, sir.
And I don't see that happening. So again, I think your record predictions are about right. But we'll see today.
Yes, sir.
Today really is where we find out what the team's going to look like. This is not a good Giants team at all. I think in 18 starts, Daniel Jones has 17 interceptions and 22 fumbles. I mean, hit him. He'll turn the ball over. I mean, that's just the way it is. Usually, Ron Rivera's teams get better as the season goes on. That's what we were hoping for when we made the coaching change.
Mm-hmm.
The previous regime, that's not how it went. They did the opposite.
Yep.
So I believe in Ron until he shows me otherwise. It has been an odd year for him, but I think today we get rolling.
Absolutely. What about you, Wole? Do you agree with us that 4-2 is the prediction?
I mean, I'm close. You know what I mean? No, actually, you know, my fandom, I can't allow myself to say that this team will lose to the Cowboys, so I can't do that. Like, I can't do that to myself. That's just who I am as a person.
I got you.
Just can't do that. So I'm gonna say 4-1 because I do believe that the schedule. I think Detroit. I mean 5-1. Excuse me, 5-1.
Wow.
I do like the Detroit. I think they'll lose to Detroit. I think Detroit is like a tough squad. But I'm with Doug too. In this aspect, like. The part of the season, that was tough, man. Like, you played the Ravens, and we talk about, like, I thought the Ravens game would be much worse, to be honest with you. It was even better than I thought it would be. That's how good the Ravens are. And you saw what, you know, and Parker mentioned, you saw what they did to Burrow. So you know that's a tough team. Arizona isn't easy as what people thought. You know, they've beaten some good ones on that schedule. So you look at, you know, what the team had to see during the first quarter of the season. And now going into this game, it's starting to get you know, get a little easier. And I'm a firm believer that iron sharpens iron, right? So you may have not been able to practice against a good defense in practice prior to the season because you were playing against that offense, so you weren't able to kind of have a good practice. But now you've seen the best of the best, right? You've seen the best. You've seen the Baltimore Ravens. You've seen Kyler Murray. You've seen Lamar Jackson. Now you're going against other quarterbacks who aren't as mobile or whatnot. So you should be able to kind of pin your ears and go after the quarterback. So I think it's an opportunity to definitely go 5-1, you know, bring up the morale of the fan base. And then from there, maybe they get some momentum and some confidence because you need swag to play sports. And hopefully they have the swag and they believe that they can beat anybody after that.
Yeah, and that's such a great point by you, Wole, talking about how the difficult stretch kind of sharpens them, gets them kind of acclimated to a playing level. Because we kind of saw it against these good teams. The most frustrating part about it was that they just couldn't compete with them. And the way that they were playing, it sucked. And that was just the most frustrating part and annoying part about watching those games. Is like, you know, you just wanted to see them compete. We're going to see a difference. I think that you're absolutely right about that, Wole. Now, let's get into it. I give
Douglas credit, though. That's Douglas. That's not me. That's Douglas. Douglas said it first.
Sorry,
I can't copy. I can't do that. Like, I can't do that.
Thank you, Douglas. All right. So, look, let's go with this game today. What do you think how this game is going to go, Parker? Do you think that the Washington football team is going to dominate this team? How many sacks do you feel? And who is going to be the best player from Washington today?
I think let's take a look back at last season, Week 16. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I really do. You know, that game, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins came out shooting. I think it was 21-14, 28-14 at halftime. Final score ended up being 40-something to 30. I don't remember off the top of my head. It was the Chase Young Bowl. He even talked about it this week. Everybody knows what that is. But I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I think we're going to see some good things out of Kyle, and I think this offense is going to move the chains. And like you guys said, iron sharpens iron. With some of those things that didn't work against those good teams are definitely going to work against the New York Giants. I mean, I know they got James Bradbury. He's playing pretty good. Check PFF on that one. I think that defensive line is doing pretty solid. Leonard Williams got a couple guys over there that are pretty good. Linebackers, this Giants defense is not a complete pushover. They've got some formidable playmakers on defense. But I think all in all, you're going to see two teams that are desperate, that are extremely desperate. If you look at it right now, both the New York Giants and the Washington Football Team both have top 5 picks right now, and we are 5 weeks into the season. So these are two teams that are clawing for relevancy, two teams that are desperately trying to find their way into the NFC East race. When it comes to players that I feel like are going to have a big day, I got to go to Chase Young, man. I mean, look at Andrew Thomas, guys. That New York Giant fan base was hyping this guy up so much. Oh, he was worth the pick, good pass blocker, good run blocker. Well, he was ranked 31.9 last week against the pass, and one guy that definitely excels in the pass rush is Chase Young. Had a couple quiet weeks, but like you guys said, against a couple really good opponents. I think Chase Young matches his complete season total in sacks today at 2.5, and I think he is the reason we win this football game.
Yeah, and to your point, Chase Young came back last week, but he's still not 100% yet. Hopefully that starts this week. And it almost was like Kendall Fuller and Chase Young were both healthy and unhealthy at the same time. That's what I kind of mean reminiscent of the old the Nats championship team where they were injured, losing games, they got guys healthy, and they started stringing some wins together. What about you, Douglas? How do you see this game going today?
I think on the pod I said 27-24 Washington. That sounds about right. If this team can't beat a Giants team that doesn't have Saquon Barkley, is down Leonard Floyd, I think, is now out with a ACL. James Bradbury has played well, but if he's going to follow McLaurin, I think that's a matchup that Washington will take all day. And then it's finding some. Evan Ingram has not played well. He has not had a good season. They are disappointed in him. When I had the insider on Wednesday, he said that was the biggest disappointment for them is Evan Ingram. So that doesn't mean that he won't have a career day here. We do get Cole Holcomb back today. So that should help out there, get more speed on the field. John Bostic was good early. He was not good against the Rams. I don't know if that's just McVay knowing more about our weaknesses, but that's the craziest thing, right? Because we always talk about our weaknesses as stopping the tight ends. This is a brand new coaching staff. I mean, stopping the tight ends has gone through almost 3 coaching staffs now. So I'm not sure if it's something in the water at Ashburn or what. But,
same with the safety position, just something that they cannot fix.
That's right. That's right. Now, they might have gotten something with Cam Curl. He keeps getting more snaps.
Oh, my God.
I think he was at 30 snaps last week.
Yep.
JP Finley gave me a hard time about my love affair with Cam Curl, but proof's in the pudding. He gets more snaps every week.
Yeah, and when I did my film breakdown of Cam Curl after we drafted him, I anointed him the nickname The Plug. When I watched him, that dude could tackle and fill the hole and clean up the run game easily, and I did not see the slot corner kind of shutdown that he has been so far. I think that's the most surprising aspect of his game. Now, what about you, Wole? How do you see this game going?
I think the team should win. I'm always impressed with how improved Montez Sweat is every game. He's just a dominant force. He's a freak, man. He really is a freak. I know we talk about Chase Young and deservedly so. Chase Young is a generational talent, but I think Montez Sweat ain't far behind. And I think having those two individuals.
Not mad about that second pick, huh?
Yeah. Oh, not at all, man. Not mad at all. Not mad at all, man. So having those two individuals on the outside, rushing Daniel Jones, I think they're going to dominate. I think this D-line is talent-wise is as good as I've seen since I watched the 91 season as a kid growing up. Like, I really think that this defensive line has all the ability to dominate. So I think they'll play well. I want to see my man AGG play. I've been begging for it. I don't need to see Dante Inman. I know enough about Dante Inman. No knock on Dante Inman. No knock on him, but I want to see AGG play. I think he's a guy that reminds, a lot of people get fixated on 40 time and whatnot. But what I saw in that reverse, and I tailor it, I kind of compare it to how I judge players like Terrell Owens. When you're on that football field, you look 4-3. Like, you look 4-3 because you have football speed. And I think AGG has football speed, and I think he could be a playmaker if they utilize him against the Giants. I think every week we've seen him get more snaps. I think against the Giants, I think he can have a good showing if he's on the field.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a dominating win by the Washington football team. I think Sadiq Charles is the missing piece on that offensive line. Chase Royer is very underrated, and when he gets a strong behemoth next to him to be able to push guys around, and you're talking about going against Blake Martinez, one of the better linebackers against the run, you're going to need some good guard play, and I think Sadiq Charles is going to provide that today. Now, the biggest question to me is this defense. Early on, they give up a lot of points. It's something that Jack Del Rio does. They give up yards and points early on, and then they tighten in the second half. What I think that this is going to happen today is the Washington football team is going to run all over the Giants. They're going to keep the Giants offense off onto the sideline for a lot of time in the early on of the game. That way they dominate, and then the defense shuts them out in the second half. I think 24-13. I think the Washington football wins today.
Proof.
I hope, man. I mean, Scott Turner he hasn't shown me that yet, but I hope he decides to run the football.
Yes, sir. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I was thinking that Jack Del Rio hadn't proven he can only keep the 13 points on the board.
What? Doug, what?
That's what I would say. Defense gives up 30 a game.
It does.
Oh, God.
Not good. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to our DC Fan Podcast Meetup to talk about the quarter mark to the season. I would like to get another one scheduled for the bye week, and that way we're halfway through the season. We can kind of talk about what's happening if you guys would be down for that.
Oh, totally.
Sure.
Definitely, Dallas was a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Give your little shout out. Give your little Twitter handle and where people can find you, Wole.
You can find me on Twitter at Urban Sports Scene. You can check out the podcast at urbansportscene.com. It's a pleasure to be on with all of you all, man. I dig it. I vibed it. Continue blessings to everybody. Keep grinding.
Appreciate you, Wole. What about you, Douglas?
Yeah, at the Big Douglas Show on Twitter and Instagram. The Big Douglas Show. We got, I think Chase Hughes from NBC Sports is going to join us Monday to run the showdown.
Oh, nice. Chase Hughes is a really, really good guy. He's really knowledgeable. He knows his stuff. He's a good one. What about you, Parker?
You can find us on all social medias at Washington Brawl. We're brought to you by the Brawl Network, Spotify, iTunes, whatever that is. You can find us on YouTube as well, Washington Brawl Network. So, yeah, just check us out, guys.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle of the Burgundy Zone. You can follow us at The Burgundy Zone, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Pods, Instagram, Facebook. We are everywhere. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on Monday or Tuesday. Washington football.